Hey, do you ever think about your art style, wish it looked different? Or maybe that it was more consistent or more recognizable, or anything other than what it is right now? Then I made a video for you! This is the video for you, it's this one. So how do you make your art style feel more like you? How do you know what art style feels like you? You ever see those artists online where you're like, wow, I love how consistent they are and how I could instantly tell when art I see online was made by them even without checking the profile that posted it because it's so recognizable. And then you look at your own art and it's different every month and you don't feel like people would be able to tell it was made by you, and then you start overthinking it and watch random videos on YouTube hoping one of them will tell you how to make those thoughts go away instead of having obnoxiously long intros where they restate exactly what their title and thumbnail said because they didn't know how to just start talking about their point. Okay, intro over, I think you get the idea. So today I'm going to go into detail about my tips for finding your art style. Hopefully they change your perspective and you take something away from them. 1. Brainstorming. This probably sounds pretty goofy, but I'd say if you've cycled through a couple of styles and none of them are sticking with you, and you want to develop something else that you feel better consistently using, you should start by getting a sense of what you actually want out of your art. So before you put your pen to your canvas, just take a moment to think about what you want other people to think when they look at your work. It doesn't have to be too complicated, just think of general words or phrases. I promise you it's a lot easier to narrow things down and get more ideas if you start this way. Throw out some words into an empty Google Doc, like chaotic, cute, edgy, scary, soft, round, jagged, things like that. Start with general words, even if they're kind of broad. But quiz, what if my ideas don't mix well together and they contrast? That's okay. Remember that you don't have to confine yourself to just one art style that you use for everything if you have a lot of ideas of different styles you'd want to have. Or if you're really determined to have one defining art style and you have contrasting ideas, then don't immediately dismiss them just yet. Just because they don't sound like they'd work well together at first glance doesn't mean you can't find a way. And if you do, you're bound to have a super original and defining art style. Don't be afraid of pushing artistic norms if you want to. I'll talk about that more in depth later in the video. Anyways, once you have the general feelings you want your art to give off, it's a lot easier to achieve your dream style. You could take your words one at a time and get more specific with them individually. If you had cute down, what are some characteristics of cute artwork? Soft color choices, colored line art, round facial features, simplified anatomy, just to name a couple of ideas. Do this individually with the words you came up with. If you're having trouble finding these characteristics, try browsing social media and looking through the artists you follow and determine for yourself, what makes me classify one artist's art as cute and another artist's art as gothic? What is different about those styles? What choices are these artists making that causes me as the viewer to interpret them differently? These types of classifications are often subjective, but that's okay. What matters is your opinion, since your art style is for yourself above all else. After you've narrowed down these characteristics, we can look through and start to pick some that you feel you would really like to use in your art. It's okay if you're not sure how to combine them together, that part comes later, and is also where your creative originality will shine through. Just start by circling or highlighting which characteristics were the easiest for you to visualize and/or stuck out to you as the most important things that you'd want in your style. 2. Concept sketching. Once you have those characteristics you want to see in your art, it may help to start sketching out some ideas on a blank canvas. Different processes work for different people. Some people like doing detailed concept sketches and studies before they move on to creating bigger pieces, and others are okay with just making a couple and then tackling something broader. Or some don't even want to do concept sketches and would rather jump straight into creating an art piece and trying to merge their ideas that way. It's okay to deviate from what I say here if you don't think it works for you. This is my advice, but it's not steadfast rules of the only way to find your art style. People do that differently. Art works in mysterious ways. So what were some characteristics that you might have a hard time visualizing working together? For example, if you wanted a cute but jagged art style and earlier you identified cute as having round line art, but you identified jagged as having sharp line art, is it possible to have an art style that represents both of these things? Sketch out a ton of ideas of how you may combine the two. I used the jagged cute example because I thought it was two kind of contrasting concepts that I can bring up my own work as an example for. I draw my fur kind of spiky and lines form pretty sharp angles in some places. But I also draw little button noses and big eyes and big teeth to make my art kind of cute and simplistic at the same time. Or at the very least, that's the intent that I'm going for. This is generally the kind of thinking you ought to be doing if you're combining two contrasting ideas. That's why you brainstormed earlier, and now you can bring that thinking to the canvas. How can you use characteristics from both or all of these categories and give off both or all of these feelings at the same time? It's okay to concept sketch style ideas that you might not actually use if it helps you find a style or brand that you're more attached to. 3. Perspective. Something extremely important I want to mention is your overall perspective. How do you think about art styles and your art style and what your art style should or shouldn't be? First off, that feeling I mentioned earlier where artists you look up to have a super consistent art style and then you look at your own art and self-reflect and you feel like yours varies too much, that statement might not be entirely true or not as true as you think it is. Artists are constantly changing and adapting, but you might not see this if you've been consistently following an artist and watching a portion of their journey unfold. I have a friend named Aatrox, and she has a super recognizable style in my opinion. And while it feels to me like she has a steadfast, consistent art style, that of which she does, I may be inclined to think that she's just always had the same one my entire time of knowing her. But if I look at this map part she made for me 3 years ago and compare it to something she's drawn as of late, she definitely has changed her art style. While you maybe can tell they were drawn by the same artist, the overall complexity of her art style has changed significantly. And you can see this most blatantly in her ears and paws. I'm sure none of you think that I have a consistent art style because I very much do not, and that can be visible just through my thumbnails alone, but I'll still mention that my art style used to be kind of the opposite of what it is right now. I had soft, grainy line art and everything was rounded. Why I drew legs like that, I cannot tell you, but what I'm trying to say here is that it isn't abnormal to want to change your art style, be that very significantly or just gradually. It's kind of just a part of being an artist. When you finally find that art style you're looking for, even if you keep it for a long time, you may gradually make changes to it without even noticing as it's happening. Another thing worth noting is that you really don't have to just confine yourself to one art style if you absolutely can't do so. I know artists who consistently maintain 2 or even more than that. Some artists have a main style and chibi style, for when they want to make more simplistic art. Some artists offer different styles in their commissions. That isn't abnormal either, that's an option. Obviously, it may not be easy for you to do the same thing. Personally, I find it actually kind of hard to maintain multiple styles. I know if I tried to do that, I'd just pick the one that I liked better and exclusively use that one. I don't have enough drive or focus to consistently maintain multiple, but if you find yourself really stuck between a couple of options and you fully love them both, don't be afraid to alternate between them. If you're ever feeling bad about yourself for having too many art styles or switching up your style too much, I'd say to try and change your perspective on that. Experimentation with a lot of styles benefits you as a freelance artist since you can draw a lot of different types of things. It helps you find a style that you like best, and it also helps you improve as an artist because you get more diverse with what's under your tool belt. I can show you art that I have made from tons of different eras in my artistic journey, and you might have a hard time even visualizing that they were all drawn by the same person. Try to avoid getting frustrated because you don't have a consistent art style. It's okay to try new things. So yeah, hello if you've watched all the way here, it's that time again, end card. I hope this possibly helped you. It's a video I've wanted to make for a while, but then I kind of forgot to start working on it. But someone reminded me in my Discord server, which you should join by the way, so you can do the same thing and remind me to do stuff. Yeah, so if there's anything you'd like to add, feel free to comment your thoughts and stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.